Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all having a great day. It's been ages since I've done a live, so I wanted to come on and say that I hope everyone had a really great holiday. It can be a really stressful time of year. It puts a lot of strain on people's emotional health and on their relationships and everything. So I just hope that you all had a chance to build deeper connections and have some downtime and some fun and some play in your life, because play is a part of rest, right? I've talked about that before. And I also wanted to talk about how our self-esteem is so deeply impacted when we go through a breakup, and how to recover from that. So the problem is that a lot of times we get into this mindset that when we are in a relationship with someone else, that they're the only ones who could possibly love me, and if they don't love me anymore, then that means I'm unlovable. And this is not a conscious thought that most people have. It's just that it comes up unconsciously. It's triggering that those feelings of unworthiness in us, and so it's important to recognize what's happening and to try to separate out what's actually happening in the here and now, and maybe what's being triggered from our past. So if we have this underlying feeling within us that we are unworthy and unlovable, and we take that into a relationship, and often we can't trust the love that we are experiencing from that other person, because we believe deep down in our in our subconscious that we are unlovable and unworthy. So it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy when that relationship ends, and it's almost like they're confirming our belief that we're unworthy and unlovable because they don't love us anymore, right? And they've shown us, or told us in so many ways, and so we take that. We come from that relationship with this further confirmation that we are unworthy and unlovable. And until we get to the root of those feelings and those beliefs, we're going to continue to perpetuate this cycle. And what often happens is that because of these feelings, the subconscious feeling of unworthiness and unlovableness, we attract certain people who are going to use that knowledge against us. And I'm not trying to victim blame here, because it's truly it's not your fault, right? It's not something you're consciously choosing, and yet we'll find ourselves in these cycles. And so I've had a lot of clients come post divorce or breakup, and they're just shattered, and they have this feeling that no one will ever love them or find them attractive, and their confidence is just completely shattered. And it's just so disheartening to see that happen, and to see it play out over and over and over again, in the patterns that continue in people's lives. Because from the outside looking in, we can see the patterns, right? And we have friends who can see the patterns in our relationships, and will tell us, like, hey, I see that happening again, or oh, you've attracted that same kind of person again, or like they'll try to help and warn us, but we're so caught up in it. And the other person can be really manipulative, and, like I said, use that sort of knowledge. And again, that might not even be a conscious thing for them. They might be acting on a subconscious level as well. So we can't always assume that the other person is conscious of their behavior, because a lot of times I see people labeling people as narcissistic, and that's a very there's a defined criteria to meet that diagnosis. And I think what people see as selfishness, or a lack of maturity and integrity, is being labeled as narcissism, when really it's not. It's just It often is subconscious on their part, and that's why you'll see a lot of like trauma bonding happening within couples and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff that comes into play that we're not even really consciously aware of until we become aware of it. And how do we do that? So therapy. Therapy is going to help us become more attuned with what's actually going on in the subconscious level. And not all therapy is going to help you do that. Certain therapies are better at it. So, and of course, I talk about counseling hypnotherapy as one of the main tools that I use, but it's not the only tool. It is, however, a really great resource to use to help a person tap into that, tap into what's going on below the surface, and sort of like peel back the layers of the onion to get to really what's going on subconsciously for them. And by subconsciously, I mean the things that sort of become ingrained in us through pattern behavior, as well as belief systems that we have and thoughts about and feelings about ourselves, right? Those are often subconscious because they've been forming throughout our entire lives, especially in our early years. So how do we tap into that? We utilize moments of subconscious thinking, right? And we all have those moments. There's conscious thinking and there's subconscious thinking. And as an individual, it's really hard to tap into our own subconscious mind, right? Because the conscious mind is still going to want to be in charge and want to, guide the ship or just be in control, right? And so that's where, sitting down with someone who can really create the right environment and the right space for those moments to appear and then to utilize them in a way that's going to be beneficial to you. So the way that I work isn't traditional hypnotherapy. There's no, walking down a staircase or anything like that. It's just really placing the right attention on the right things to help go deeper into who you are, and in a helpful way, so that when you come out of the session, you have this clarity and you have choice, where before you didn't have choice. You were stuck in the cycle, you were stuck in the pattern. When we're stuck in a pattern, we don't have choice. We're limited in our ability to see other choices, and we're caught up in a thought cycle that just keeps us stuck. So it just opens up choice. It brings some clarity, and through that, that's when the change happens. That's when the change can occur. Because we've now stepped outside of the issue, outside of the problem, to see inward, almost like becoming that third person to be able to see your own patterns. And that's really what I'm helping people to do in the therapy sessions that we have, so that it's not me doing anything or telling you to react in a certain way or behave in a certain way. And it's all client led, right? So the resources are within you, the answers are within you, and sometimes it just helps to have someone who can help you step outside of that pattern and that cycle that you're caught in, to see other resources and other choices. And it's like going to a shop and having someone who's really knowledgeable help you to pick out all of the different outfits that suit you, without really telling you that's the outfit. Or like if you've ever tried on wedding dresses, the very best wedding dress consultant is not going to be like, that's the dress you should pick. They're waiting for you to say, this is the dress, this is the right fit, this is what makes me feel right. And then they confirm that for you, right? So that's where there's a lot of similarities in what I do, because it's not for me to tell you what's going to be the right fit and the right resource for you. It's just to help you see that there's so many different choices, and to maybe help you to see a different rack and think of different possibilities that you never really thought of before. So I hope this helps, and I hope that it really can help you to understand that when you're coming through a breakup, or even just like a loss of a friendship, or any kind of breaking of a toxic relationship. So, not just about, romantic relationships, but any kind of severing of a relationship can leave us questioning ourselves, whether we have good instincts, whether we can trust our gut instincts, whether we can see red flags in relationships. And in the course of romantic relationships, it can really have us questioning our self-confidence and our attractiveness, and our worthiness, right? So it's important to recognize that we we can't just give all of our power to this other person to determine our worthiness. Because, first of all, they might not be worthy of making that determination. And I see that a lot too. It's like, he doesn't love me anymore, or she doesn't love me anymore. And then when you dig deeper, you realize that that person is, a really immature, um, emotionally stunted, in need of some resources of their own. And yet, people, just be like, well, because they don't love me, then I must be unlovable, when there's something about them that is maybe a little bit broken, and they're projecting, right? And so if we take that to be truth, and we take that on as our belief system, then we're really giving all of our power to them, which they haven't earned, and really is not something you should be giving to another person entirely. Because there's times when, of course, I've felt unattractive or unhappy in my own skin, in my own body, and my partner was, of course, saying, I still think you're beautiful. You're always going to be the one that turns me on, and things like that was very affirming and was very positive. And until I got to a place where I actually believed that within myself, I couldn't trust those words from him. So why would I trust the opposite? If he were to turn around and tell me that, no, you're not attractive, no one else would ever find you attractive or lovable, why would I believe that? Especially if I knew deep down in my soul, in my being, that I am innately beautiful and attractive and lovable, right? He wouldn't have that power over me if I had that belief within myself. And that's something that you can attain for you, right? That's not something that someone else can give you. But sometimes that takes work, and sometimes that takes help. And I'm all for self-affirmations and positive affirmations, and using mantras and all of that, and positive self-talk. I think there's enough science that shows that we can rewire our brains using those techniques. But then sometimes we need to go deeper. We need to go deeper on the soul level, right? Because we can change our brain wiring, and we can rewire for more positive thinking. And yet, if we don't address our soul, our spirit, and really feel that on that level, we're not going to make that connection, and it's not going to be as deeply healing as it could be, because all of those things can be healing and should be part of your overall toolkit for self-love. But you can have all the tools in your kit, and if you don't believe deep down in your soul in your spirit that you're lovable and that you're beautiful, and sexy, if that's something that you are wanting to feel, sensual, worthy of love. If you don't believe that deep down inside of you, then all the tools in the world aren't going to make the difference, and another person isn't likely going to make the difference one way or the other, unless it's to make you feel worse about yourself. And so we need to stop giving other people that power, and we need to work on building that within ourselves. And what you'll find, what a beautiful byproduct of doing that work, is that when you really truly love yourself on a deep soul level, you're going to attract other people who love themselves as well. And then through those connections, you're also rewiring your brain and your nervous system. And so it's a win-win situation, right? And so I implore you that if you haven't already begun the work of self-love, that you consider that. If you're going to have any kind of New Year's resolutions or goals or anything like that, if January 1st is a goal setting time for you, that you consider adding in self-love, and not just self-love practices, but actual work towards self-love. And so that can include therapy that helps you to heal that inner child, or to do, the shadow work that needs to be done, whatever that looks like for you. But just to really, truly get to a place where you feel deep down, like really deep down inside of you, that you are lovable, that's worth devoting some energy to. That's worth having a resolution for. All the rest of it, the losing the weight, the quitting smoking, the stop drinking, all of the the typical New Year's resolutions, all of those become easier when you embark on a deep journey of self-love, because those are just byproducts, right? So when we really start to truly love ourselves, we start taking better care of ourselves in general, right? We start loving our bodies more, and we start nurturing ourselves more on so many different levels. So if you're struggling with those kinds of things, and you're thinking, January 1st, I'm going to quit doing this, or I'm going to do more exercise and less eating of this, or whatever it might be. And I think that's great. I mean, obviously we should all have goals, and you don't have to wait till January 1st to have those kinds of goals, right? Revisiting your goals throughout the year is, necessary and will help you stay on track. All of that's important. But until you really, really address your self-confidence, your self-love, and your worthiness, those are going to be more challenging to deal with. Because those are just symptoms, really and truly. Those are symptoms. And so if you're wondering how to even start on this journey, obviously some of the tools that I've suggested both today and in the past are great to start to sort of, gather resources. But the real work happens in therapy. So if you've been avoiding therapy, maybe that's a January 1st resolution. Book in, see someone, get some help, get some resources, get some support. You deserve it. And so if I can help in any way, please let me know. And also just want to point out that I offer free 45-minute consultations. It costs nothing to you to figure out if we're a good fit. And it's also my opportunity to discover if you're a good fit as a client. So it works both ways, but it's an opportunity for us to discuss your issues and see if what I do can be of help to you. Okay? So feel free to private message me, or click the link up in my banner and book in, and we'll have a chat. Thanks, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.